Hi there, I'm Levi with Saratoga Wine, and today I'm joined by a special guest, Sarah Loveland, a spirit specialist with one of our local distributors, and she's here to show off an incredible lineup from Preservation Distillery and tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you for having me. Really excited to share Preservation Distillery for the first time and to show some of their really exciting products that they're doing. This company comes from Marcy Palatella out of Bardstown, Kentucky. And she initially formed this company way back in the 1980s. She originally started in the wine world. She was a wine broker, and she saw an opportunity to buy some of the old stock that some of the biggest distilleries in the business were sitting on and couldn't sell. So she bought up a bunch of barrels, got some bottles, threw some labels on, and started exporting largely to Southeast Asia and Europe. And found a real niche for it. Found that market to be really healthy for American whiskey. Again, these are utilizing a lot of vintage barrels that have been sourced from all over. But as a result, there isn't a lot of information that we are used to sharing about each bottling.
And that's the downside.
And that is, that is one of those things where, it's like we as whiskey enthusiasts really love to hear about where our stuff is coming, what it is. We do have clues, though, on each of these bottlings, related to their age and kind of maybe what's in there, where they came from. But yeah, we'll definitely be talking about those. And then, of course, it's always kind of about the treasure hunt and detective work.
Which is part of the fun, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to start you off with Wattie Boone, which is actually the youngest whiskey that we'll be drinking today at 6 years old.
Which you don't hear much anymore.
Right, and it is something that I really do love about preservation and Marcy's philosophy of doing 6 years old as a minimum. And then again, like we're working with such tiny little barrel selections that all of these are gonna be a max of 3 barrels blended together. So really, really micro batch. But Wattie Boone is a really nice sipping whiskey that I love to open with because it's both palatable and super soft.
Yeah, the nose, you immediately get that soft sweetness too. I mean, it's your standard for bourbon entry, your vanillas, your spices, and then on the palate, that proof, there's that nice spiced apple coming through, a little bit of a slight baking spice, a little touch of clove there on the finish to round out that kind of sweetness. But we're not drinking low proof on these really either, which is the thing, and that's the thing that drinks really approachable for a high proof whiskey. Exactly.
This is kind of the perfect sipping neat pour. It's like you're right. It's like you're getting, kind of that classic butterscotch right on the front. But what I love about this one is those elements of stone fruit. It's like
absolutely.
I'm getting that super rich, peachy apricot, almost going toward that kind of like bitter pit to give you a little bit of that edge. But again, very, very nice and soft. Kind of nice opening example, and of course naming it after the man who's responsible for Kentucky Bourbon is kind of a nice little nod to that history element. One thing that I really love, again, about the way that they're choosing to do things is that these whiskeys are always going to be unfiltered. Marcy really believes in maintaining as much flavor as possible. This is how whiskey used to be made. And when she launched in the early 80s, that was not normal. Everybody was filtering whiskey. She went the other way and really was a pioneer with that. Nice. So moving on, we're gonna do Old Man Winter, which is really, really a standout item in the lineup because this is a 4-grain. You don't have too many folks that are utilizing 4 grains, but the fact that we're doing that and doing both a blend of Indiana and Kentucky in this bottling. So in this case, the rye and the wheat are gonna be our secondary grains, so we're really leaning into the corn and the barley. But this one is gonna be at near cask strength. So we are adding a little bit of that beautiful limestone filtered water that they are very, very, very proud of on their Kentucky property to just open this up just a little bit. But again, we're leaning into a 6 to 8 year old distillate mixed in there, max of 3 barrels, usually between 1 and 3, and going right under 110 proof. So we're sitting at 109.8 for this guy. But again,
and this is one of my favorite packagings too. The wax dip is just such a loud, speaks volumes of it too.
Yeah, and it's a nice hefty bottle too.
That seems to be a common trend too.
Yes, we do like cool bottles. We do like hefty bottles. Always leaning back to Marcy's history as a wine girl first. I'm getting almost like a butter-like quality.
For sure.
The viscosity in a lot of these whiskeys is so unique in the market. It's like this is really lending into a slow process and also low barrel entry proofs, which isn't something that a lot of purveyors were doing. It's like you get, yes, that viscosity, that oiliness, but you also get this really beautiful, refreshing, bright eucalyptus note from that rye.
Such an herby note to it there that really...
Yeah, it's really, really bright.
And I've gotten so many different mixed reviews from other 4 grains. This one just seems like the most well-integrated one that I've come across.
Yeah, and again, it's like, leaning into the history of how whiskey used to be made. That's really the name of the game across the board. And I think this is a really cool example of that. Really, really stand out. All right, so next up, this one's actually really, really exciting. And it really is, it's like I say, each product is a standout because they're all so different. But this one really does stand out in the fact that it is Preservation's first own distillate that they've released. Marcy was, of course, doing really well with all of these bottlings and these blends, but it did occur to her, for one, eventually we're going to run out of old barrel access. There's not going to be old whiskey barrels around forever. And so eventually that will deplete. But another was, okay, people know now that I know how to select a barrel, I know how to blend. Do they know that I can actually make it too? And this is really, really testing the ability to make a great bourbon. Preservation's first release is their wheated pot still bourbon. One of 2 that are coming hopefully this next year. And this guy is really cool because again, we're doing that minimum of 6 to 7 years old. This is an earlier lot. We're now actually going to see them get a little bit older with time. Cask strength, and also made using a sweet mash, which are not things that you hear altogether. Pot still, high wheated, sweet mash, 6 to 7 year old bourbon that's served at cask strength is crazy. So it's a really, really cool product. Again, wine reference, humongous, hefty California Cabernet bottle that really, really holds its own. Again, 100% their own grain here, doing cask strength, unfiltered. This guy's sitting at about 116. I do have to say, I think you're gonna like this one when you try it.
It's such a thick, full-bodied whiskey there. I mean, it feels, it's just creamy in its own matter, but yeah, it's such desserty, like a creme brulee. Like you could almost feel like you want to eat this with a spoon. It's so decadent and sweet, but still just well-balanced. I mean, these proofs on these, we have these high proofs like this, there's always that initial back burn on there. There's enough texture and flavors up front that it makes that alcohol at the end feel really integrated and really becomes part of the whiskey, not a afterthought at the end. So one of my favorite named whiskeys, and just one of the funnest art bottles and stuff. You kind of unfortunately get to those things where you judge a package before you taste it, and I mean, this is one that you shouldn't.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's like it's like when I see the bottle for Cock of the Walk, it's like it does kind of like tickle my funny bone a little bit. I do actually love it. I kind of love, the humor, the history. This is a historic label that we're referencing in a historic brand that used to produce both bourbon and rye. Marcy got the rights to the label and wanted to incorporate it. This is a really, fun example, again, of something just different. None of these products does big overlap. Every single one is going to give you something different. This one is no exception. With Cock of the Walk, we're doing a 6 to 8 year blend here. So minimum of 6 years, usually just up to 8 years. With this one too, you'll notice that the flavor profile is going to change a little bit. It's like we're incorporating, a mixture of different distillates from Kentucky, but also you're going to notice that the flavor profile and the viscosity is going to change on this one, and it's partly due to what we assume is a distillation technique change.
If you're familiar with a lot of the higher end wheat whiskeys, there's a commonality on this one.
It smells very, very familiar. And you get that essence of, I haven't even tasted it yet, and I'm already getting it hit just a little bit on my palate of smoke.
It still plays perfectly to that wheated profile of those cherry stone fruits and stuff, and still getting that nice kind of nutmeggy spice to it. And then once again, that proof, you can mistake that proof for being much lower than it is.
This is a really great example of how a different distillation technique can not only change the flavor, but can enhance other things that we love. Nice heavy char on these barrels as well. And so a lot of that is coming through.
That's where that smoke kind of notes texture come through too.
This is a classic classic flavor profile that I think a lot of people are gonna immediately recognize. It's gonna hone right in. I think there's some nostalgia with that as well.
I think
we've had whiskeys like this, but this one is really doing it properly, keeping that proof nice and high. This one from the line is a really, really cool one, and I love to introduce it as kind of a curveball. I refer to it as a cocktail in a bottle because it got so much going on. But yeah, really, really fun balance of flavor, but very big. So this very Old St. Nick, which we call the Winter Maple, is actually a blend of both bourbon and rye that is coming from Kentucky, but is also then having a proprietary finish applied. Again, not a huge amount of tech on these bottles, but we are given clues. And so this one definitely stands out. It's a perfect finish, I think, to this lineup. Kind of, a nice little dessert right at the end. The nose immediately, right?
It just makes everything tingle. There's that wood maple.
Get all that vanilla this one is leaning a little bit heavier into that rye profile, which is why we still classify it in that category. But again, it's like, these guys are allowing this to age for 6 to 8 years, but then there is a proprietary finishing process that happens for a minimum of 3 months in French oak. And the other thing that we know about that oak is the fact that it touched maple. And so that kind of beautiful candy that we're getting is really perfectly balanced. It's not overly done, which I appreciate. It's like we've had kind of maple finished things in the past. Sometimes they can go into that more like sugar. We don't want syrup. We want whiskey that has elements of it. And this is, again, like a really nice balance.
Perfect transition into it.
It still has that spice, still has that a little bit of that char, but really kind of giving you, again, this insanely drinkable, but actually the lowest proof of the bunch. This one's at about 94.9. Again, this is gonna be on that lower end, just below 100 proof. So all of these guys are gonna be very, very drinkable on their own. But yes, if you want to have yourself maybe the best old fashioned in your life, the very Old St. Nick Winter Maple is the one.
I would just maybe throw a cherry on the side of the glass.
I literally just like, that's it. Yeah, no, it's beautiful on its own. Beautiful on its own. But yeah, really special one. Very Old St. Nick definitely remains kind of the most well-known name in the bunch. And then in addition to those two, we also have something called Pure Antique. Pure Antique is kind of where you get the top of the line, the most rare bottles in the collection, because these are the super, super old barrels.
And if I may.
Please.
We unfortunately won't get to try this one today, but we're so lucky to actually have a bottle in-house to kind of highlight it. And just seeing it as just a very simple kind of artistic, you know that there's something special inside there, and I'm hoping someone I know buys it so I can try it. But,
please, yes, call us. Pure Antique is, we are talking about the oldest of the bunch. And again, very, very, very tiny releases. Pure Antique first gained a lot of traction when the 18-year release was put out a couple of years ago. Marcy tried it, loved it. Obviously, it got attention from whiskey heads. She held back a couple of those barrels, and she did end up trying it again at 20 years old and thought, oh man, this is actually really good.
It must be a bad thing to have laying around, be like, I should go back and try this
all my
again.
barrels. And coming out of Tennessee, again, there's maybe only a few places that this could have come from given its age. Now, what's notable about this bottle in particular, the 20-year-old Pure Antique has definitely gained a huge amount of attention and is ultra collectible because it actually won Best Bourbon in the World at San Francisco this past October in 2024.
But just to have this dynamic on one house, I mean, it just makes it a brand that you can kind of keep revisiting because everything's gonna be a little bit different. I think there's really some true enjoyable things there.
What I love about preservation, it's equal parts history and where bourbon came from, where it's kind of come in years recently, and then also kind of that little bit of treasure hunt, a little bit of that unearthing all of the facts and where did it come from. So it's like there's a lot of magic for collectors, and there's definitely, of course, really beautiful things inside the bottles.
These products are available by us. Limited, definitely limited quality, but Saratoga Wine, you can find these products and more of their other products listed. And I would highly encourage you, if you're interested in these, to snatch them up quick because I think once the word gets around, they won't be around for long.
Definitely anticipating a lot of movement on these. Highly collectible, and I hope everybody can have their shot at getting some for sure.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
Cheers.
Cheers.